Greetings, our Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters. This is L.D. Smith, the Watchman on the wall. Israel, it is our Sabbath. Grab that King James. First of all, we want to wish all of our sisters and brothers all over a happy Sabbath. Moving forward now, we strive to expose Lucifer, aka Jesus, every Sabbath. All right? And as always, we always do that, so we're going to do it again tonight, all right? Now, we're going to be coming from the book of Matthew, the 17th chapter. And Israel, my sisters and brothers, I ask you to read with me and just have an open mind, and I want you to hear the words. Hear these words that we are speaking about, and I want you to think about it. Think about what we're reading. And I guarantee you, you'll see something new every time, all right? Now, going forward, let us go to the book of Matthew, the 17th chapter, verse 1. It says, and after six days, Jesus take Peter, James, and John, his brother, and bring them into the high mountain apart. Okay, now here, look what verse 2 says. And was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as light. Now, my question is this right here. Jesus' plan of salvation is for him to come into the world and to so-called bring the Jews back and then save the rest of the world. My question is this right here. What purpose, if this took place, what purpose or what good did this do as far as his plan of salvation? I mean, why did he so-called do all this transfiguring? What was the purpose of it? And not only that, look at verse 3. It says, and behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias, talking with him. Now, let's say that he's talking about Elijah, but I know he's not, because Elias is not Elijah. And my question to this, if you can spell Moses right, why can't you spell Elijah right? So I know that this is not Elijah because, well, I tell you what, once we get on down to the reading, I'm going to prove to you that this here is not Elijah, all right? Now, moreover, let's look at verse 4. He said, and Peter answered and said unto Jesus, Lord, it is good for us. And he talks about making a tabernacle for Jesus, one for Elijah, and one for Elias, and one for Moses. All right. Now let's read verse 5. It said, while he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud, which said, this is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased. Hear ye him. Now, I know that we have been taught to fill in the blank. See, through Christianity and through religion, we have been taught, even though this here is more or less like an assumption. We have to assume that this is God. But see, let us look back in the Old Testament, and I'm going to show you whenever God shows up, God identifies himself. Here, there is no identification that this is God. You have to assume that this is God. Now watch right here. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. Chapter 4. Let's look at verses 11 and 12. Look what it says here now. It says, and ye come near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. Okay? This is a picture of God's spaceship. Many of you may not believe that, but if you look at any old drawings of the Egyptians, they drew spaceships and stuff way back there. See, and if you look at this and think about how a spaceship would land on a mountain, you could see that it has fire, it has smoke, it has all these things. Not only that, you know, if you read on down, it talks about the mountain quaking and stuff like that in other writings. If any of you all have ever went and saw the space shuttle Discovery take off from Cape Kennedy Out there in Texas, you can be miles away and all that thrust, you can feel a vibration in the ground. See, so I know that this shit is a spaceship that is landed on this mountain without any questions at all. I mean, any doubt at all. I know this is what it is. Now, going forward, look what he says here. Verse 12 says, and the Lord spake, unto you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude. Only ye heard the voice. See, here God identifies himself as the Lord spake out of it. But over here, you see a voice. That's all. A voice. I mean, God identifies himself when he shows up. This is not God. You have to assume that this is God. But this is Lucifer and his little cronies here at work. I mean, it's right here in the pages. They can't put God here because God will not allow them to do that. Okay? Now, let's look at another one. Let's look at Numbers. Let's go to Numbers. The book of Numbers. The 12th chapter. Let's look at Numbers, the 12th chapter. We're going to read verses 5 through 8. All right? Watch what it says here. It said, and the Lord came down in a pillar of a cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called, and called Aaron and Mary. See, God came down in this pillar of a cloud. See what I'm saying? It says God, not a voice, not a spirit, not a shadow, but it said the Lord came down. But over here in Matthew, the only thing you got is a voice spoke out of a cloud and said, this is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased with. It didn't say God. It didn't say that it was the Lord God. It said a voice. But anyway, let's go a little further here. He says here, he called Mary and Aaron, and they both came forward, and he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I the Lord, see that I the Lord will make myself known unto him in visions, and will speak unto him in dreams. My servant Moses is not so who is faithful in all my house. With him with him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speech. And the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore, talking about he's going to see him. Wherefore, that there were not, then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses. Now God is scolding Mary and Aaron here about speaking against Moses. But you see here, the point that I'm bringing out, you see here that he came down in the pillar of a cloud. And then he identified himself as the Lord spoke. The Lord called. See, not a voice came out and you have to fill in the blank and you have to say, well, it has to be God. No. God, whenever God does something, God identifies himself. Now, look at something else, Jim. Let's look at Exodus 33. Let's look at that one. Exodus 33. Let's look at that one. Exodus 33 and 9. Well, let's go to another one. Let's go back to Matthew. Let's go back to Matthew, the 17th chapter. Let's go there. Matthew, the 17th chapter. Let's go back there. Watch this. See, because we need to read it all and see what it says. Look what it says here now. Matthew, the 17th chapter. We're going to read verses 6 through 9. All right? Look what it says. It says, when his disciples heard it, they fell on their face and were so afraid. And Jesus came and touched them and said, arise, be not afraid. And when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no man save Jesus only. And as they came down from the mount, Jesus charged them, saying, tell the vision to no man until the Son of Man be raised again from the dead. Now, my sisters and brothers, let me ask you a question. And I think this is, a question that needs to be asked. Isn't the Christian foundation is based on Jesus dying and getting up, a man getting up out the grave and dying and getting up. This is what it's all based on. Why not tell them? Because that would make me believe. So when Jesus do die, hey, he ain't got no problem about nobody believing him. But he tells them, don't tell anybody, no man about the vision until the Son of Man be raised from the dead. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. I mean, my sisters and brothers, that does not make any sense to me at all. But I'm going to tell you, it gets even better. My sisters and brothers, this here gets even better. Watch this right here. Verse 10 says, and his disciples asked him, saying, why then say the scribes that Elias must first come? Now, let's assume that he's talking about Elijah, but we know that he's not, because I'm going to show you down here in the writing. And look what Jesus says. And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. See what he says? He say, not might, that might, not a possibility, but he says, shall come. Isn't that what the writing says? Now, my sisters and brothers, this is the same shall that he tells the Christian, whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. If thou shall, the same shall right here, confess with thy mouth, and thou shalt believe in thy heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. Isn't that what he says over in Romans? Well, this is the same shall that's over in Romans. Because this is in red. This is coming out of Jesus' mouth. Am I right or wrong? Okay, I know I'm right. But look what he says here. But I say unto you that Elias is come already. My sisters and brothers, do you see how stupid this bullshit is? Do you see how stupid this bullshit? See, because he said Elias shall, he said truly shall first come and restore all things. My question, my sisters and brothers, to any Christian or anybody who wants to argue about what the writing says here, if this Elias, whoever he is, gonna come and restore all things, not some things now. He said all things. Am I right or wrong? All things, that means nothing gonna be left undone. Now my question is, what good is Jesus? Huh? Do you need Jesus? From this writing right here, the Christians don't even need Jesus, because he said Elias is going to come back and restore all things. But look here, look at verse 12. He said, but I say unto you that Elias has come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed, or either whatever they desired, or either they had a list of things that they're going to do to him. But anyway, likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. My question is this. If the so-called people did this to Elias was way before Jesus. How could the people still be around in Jesus' day and do anything to him? Not only that, if Elias gonna restore all things, then they hit down here in verse 12, you say that he's already came and they ran him off. So my question is, you emphatically said that he truly means verily, verily, truly shall, not might, this is going to take place. First, come and restore all things. This is going to take place. Then you come down here and you say they ran him off. They ran him off and done him the same way they're going to do the Son of Man. Now, my sisters and brothers, does that make any sense at all? This is nothing but a bunch of bullshit. Just like I always say, a bunch of rubbish, a bunch of trash. This here, this right here, isn't even worth the ink that was used to write on the paper. But I hate reading this bullshit because it makes me angry. But I have to do it in order to show that this is nothing but it's more or less like a damn mythical joke or something. I mean, honestly, we were put to sleep, my sister and brother. But our Father is now opening up our understanding that we can see this and nothing but a bunch of damn shit. That's all it is. It ain't worth nothing. But anyway, let's just say that he can't spell, and he meant Elijah. Okay, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Okay, now my thing is, I am going to go to Malachi, the 4th chapter. Let's just say that he's talking about Elijah. Okay, let's just say that. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and see does this pan out like they say it is. All right. We're going to look here in Malachi 4. We're going to read verses. Let's start with verse 1. It says, "Behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave neither a root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the S-U-N of righteousness arise, with healing in his wing, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of a stall, and ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the sole of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord of hosts." Now look what he said. He said, "Remember ye the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all of Israel, with the statutes and judgment." Now look at verse 5. Now he said, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord." This is when Elijah is supposed to show up. Right before God comes, Elijah is going to come and prep us and get us ready to receive our Father. Now look what he says. "And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers unto the children, and the heart of the children to their father, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse." Now, that being said, Jesus said over here that, okay, let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he's talking about Elijah. He says Elijah's already come. How many times can Elijah come? God only speaks about Elijah coming one time, and that's coming back to prayer. Now Jesus said he shall come. Then he came in his transfiguration. He came then, and then he said that he came and then they ran him off. All right, now let's look at the Old Testament and see what God says. Let's go to 2 Kings. 2 Kings. Let's see, because if we go back here, we'll see exactly what God is saying. See, my sister and brother, like I say, this New Testament, it ain't worth the paper and the ink that they use to write this bull crap on. All right. 2 Kings chapter 2. Let's read verse 11 and 12. All right. Look what it says. "It came to pass." Okay, let's do 10 too. All right. It says, "And he said, Thou hast asked a hard thing." This is Elijah and Elisha talking. He said, "You have asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou seest me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so." Verse 11. "And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire, and the horses of fire." Now, if you think about what was transpiring here, they was speaking in the level of their intelligence. You know, to me, this is more or less like a flying saucer that had landing gears on it. Today we call it landing gears. But see, it was fire there, and anyone knows that a horse cannot be made of fire. All right? We know that. So if you just think about that for a moment and just think about a spacecraft that has landing gears on it, it looks like legs. But back in those days, their intelligence was not as intelligent like we are today. Just like way back when Henry Ford first made his T model. If you had called that an SUV back there, they wouldn't have not understood what you said, but they call it T model. Okay, and today we call it what? We call it Expedition. What's the other big one? Explorer. I mean SUV. But we're talking about the same thing, a means of transportation. But anyway, getting back here to this right here, let's read the latter part of verse 11. He said, fire and parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And Elijah saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him again, and he saw him yesterday, and he saw him 1,000 years later. No, he said he saw him no more. So my question is, how can Jesus say that Elijah has already came and they ran him off? Here we see here, he said, and he saw him no more. And he took hold of his own coat and ripped them into two pieces. He took up all the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. My sisters and brothers, Elijah is not coming back until God sends him back in order to prep us. Jesus doesn't know what he's talking about. Elijah never came back, and nobody ran him off and didn't listen to him and then crucified him, because he said the same thing that happened to him was the same thing that happened to Elijah. My sister and brother, can't you see what I'm saying here? That Jesus is a liar. He's nobody but Lucifer. And this whole New Testament, nothing but a bunch of crap. My sister and brother, we wish you a happy Sabbath. Until next time, shalom.